The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas, critical opinions in Southeast Asia. Hey, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
Hello, this is Grace.
And we are back again, but with our Durian Heat. We don't have a guest for the hot seat, but we are going to be in the hot seat.
That's right, all three of us today.
You know why?
Why?
Because we are going to talk about women and business.
Oh my gosh, she got it,
And
Gowri.
this is actually one of Grace's favorite topic because
Yeah,
she's always talking about entrepreneurship and what are the opportunities available for women in this country.
Oh, really, have I?
You didn't realize it.
Well,
I was actually gonna ask you to explain, but then since you said really.
Well, I believe when it comes to entrepreneurship in any nations, right, we still have this sort of stereotyping mindset that it's kind of male business world when it comes to entrepreneurs, and also all those mindsets and also the ideas about when it comes to business is still pretty much male dominated. And but then with all those I will say innovations in the business, more women, females are coming up with their own ideas, not only from all those typical industries such as fashion, music, or art, but also from the perhaps IT. Different. I wouldn't say different. It's something. It was like less a female-dominated industry, but now more. We'll see more changes and improvement in terms of having more opportunities for women.
It's funny because when we talk about women in entrepreneurship, in reality it's not something new. It's something that is actually a culture in certain parts of Malaysia. For example, I think in Kelantan, women in business or businesswomen selling, small scale business like goreng pisang, or you sell like
Even
fabrics,
handicrafts.
handicraft.
Yeah.
This is a woman's oriented businesses, but it's seldom being highlighted. It's not as much as male oriented businesses. So I guess trying to refocus what woman entrepreneurship is all about, it's very, very good.
And another interesting part is, like Grace mentioned earlier, people always have this stereotype that it's a male-dominated thing. But if you really look at what entrepreneurship really is, it always starts with an idea. And pretty much anybody can have an idea.
But then also at this time, those small business sectors, they were not highlighted so far. That's why when we think of the business, we think of the big scales, big companies. That's when we sort of think straight, it's a male-dominated industry. However, if we actually look it into a further and deeper, we see a lot of women have been contributing when it comes to business.
So, how are we starting? Are we gonna talk about our...
So I would love to ask you two, Arlene and Gowri, what is your perspectives when it comes to, when you hear the word women entrepreneurship?
I actually, it's funny because when I used to feel that business is a male dominated world, but the more I think about it, business can be in any form and in any way, but I guess the access to capital, the access to opportunities usually is quite limited to women. So let's say I just give nasi lemak stall. I love
Your
giving
favorite example.
That is my favorite example. Let's say a makcik selling nasi lemak on the roadside. She has a great idea, a great recipe, maybe a good pool of customer within her area, but to be a really successful entrepreneur, it's not just to cater towards the existing customer, because you will always have competitor and you need to reinvent yourself. That's where a woman have, I think, a bit of limited compared to men, because where do you get access to capital? How can you get the opportunity to expand? Opportunity in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of networks. These are very limited for women. Usually, women would play the role as caretaker in the family, and business usually would be a side thing just to make enough cash to support the family. So to say female in businesses, how can we reinvent them, is to completely change the role of women in society. This is how I think.
How about Gowri?
When I think of women entrepreneurship, honestly, I think of Victoria Beckham right away.
Why?
Because she's one woman who she started out like just in a girl band, but she actually rose to such prominence. She worked really hard. She introduced her own fashion line, and she became a worldwide icon for most people. And she was kind of the one of the earliest person to revolutionize that whole thinking in an international scale, maybe.
I see. I thought her biggest achievement was becoming a wag.
Becoming a what?
Wag.
A wag.
Wife and girlfriends of footballers.
Whoa.
She was the one who actually
Actually, that's the
reinvented.
thing. A lot of people are actually
Yeah.
saying it the other way around, that Beckham is still relevant today because of his wife, because she came up with all these efforts and her clothing line, her fragrance line, and because of that, Beckham started doing the same thing. He has his underwear, he has his own fragrance. So he actually got most of his inspiration from her as well.
I see. How about the Oprah Winfrey? I think she's a very good role model when it comes to women entrepreneurship.
Especially women of colors. Oprah came from a very disadvantaged background.
Yep.
She was a colored woman, as in she's not from the privileged white community. So in a sense, for her to break that mold, that glass ceiling, is really, really an achievement for a black woman. But in reality, I mean, if you look at the bigger picture, you may have like one or two women of color being successful as entrepreneurs, but the reality is women are way behind the economic scale, not just in entrepreneurship, but in almost every form of economic activities. That's the sad truth. So how can we really expand and empower women to actually see beyond that? You know, just because they are female in gender doesn't mean that they should be at the bottom rung of the economic food chain.
Well, then doesn't mean the women entrepreneurs, they need to think like, they need to, act like men. Because to be honest, when it comes to business, you need a lot of logical thinking and a critical mindset, and to be able to think outside the box. That also requires a bit of a creativity mind. But women, we are very well known, sort of well known with the quotation, for being very emotional. And then the
Do you agree with
the
that?
soft skill. That's what I'm asking. Whether we need to think like men to be able to enter the business world and then sort of start our own business.
Okay, let's break down this stereotype of perception. What is
Yeah.
exactly thinking like man? I mean, if you have a definition for that particular gender stereotype.
Straightforward, simple mindset, being logical.
Mm.
Yeah, they have this sort of I would say skill to separate their emotions from the work. So they don't actually relate the emotions to their work. Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Gowri?
I actually think thinking like a woman will be more helpful for businesses, because
How
women
is it
tend
like
to
to
be
think like a woman?
Yeah, women tend to have a stronger gut feeling whether something is going to work out or not. They also are known to be the more reasonable one, the more rational thinking one, because men, although they are straightforward, they're simple, they have this reputation for jumping in head first into something without really calculating the after effects. But when it comes to women, they are actually more. They are actually.
Well, you have a point,
more,
Gowri,
yeah.
there, where as much as I asked the question whether women need to think like men, but then though trying to act like men doesn't guarantee the success for the female entrepreneur. And then we have a lot of good feminine qualities that we can actually highlight when it comes to business. And then by nature, women are more emotional and nurturing, which can also sometimes be actually a hurdle in the handling business. However, we can actually turn the way other way around to make use of our feminine qualities.
Once
I-
you learn to use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
But I would want to completely change the whole discussion when it comes to the stereotype of men and women, because
Yep.
I feel that stereotype comes from a certain kind of social construct where we are being born into that particular idea of this is how men think, this is how women think.
Yep.
To me, human beings are emotional beings, regardless the degree of being emotional, how bad it is It's not determined by your sex organ or your gender. It's determined by your individual self. If you are being brought by in an environment, or your genetics makeup have you to be more emotional than the usual person, that means you are an emotional person regardless of your gender. To me, the reality is a good businesswoman or a good businessman, another example, has nothing to do with emotion at all, or has everything to do with emotion. But the reality is, the bigger picture is, it's all about taking advantage of business access, trying to be able to form really forward-looking ideas and be able to market the ideas, and having a good network of partners and people to convince that your idea is great. And these are processes that doesn't happen just in one go. You have to dare to fail, dare to reinvent yourself, and dare to admit that you were wrong, and you want and change the course of your business and do something great. And I think both men and women are capable of doing that. Breaking the stereotype of what men and women think is really, really crucial. I believe you need both male and female sort of qualities. Yeah, you're right. Qualities. You need to be emotional at times. You need to be logical at times. But at the same time, you also need other form of skills, thinking skills that not necessarily involve emotion, or you would involve emotion. I mean, I give example. It's hard for you to be creative and logical at the same time. When you are creative, usually your logical mind will take a backseat. That's where you become very emo. That's why great artists are very emotional
and very sensitive.
But that's where great ideas comes from. But at the same time, when you have a business mindset, you need to be very logical. You need to think about logistic. You need to think about how your product would appeal to people, and these are very logical sort of operation. You can't be emotional. So I think you need both skills, because you cannot sell a horrible product. You cannot be logical and create a really great idea. You have to have emotional to create great ideas, but at the same time, you cannot be emotional and ensure that your business will work well. You have to be logical to ensure that your businesses work well, because business activities are very logical activities.
And also, just to add on top of that, is it's also based on the research from Babson College in 2012 Global Entrepreneur Monitor. They actually said the woman has a higher fear of failure when it comes to business.
It's
they
social
have
construct, I think. You're brought up to think that, this is how a woman should be. Don't ever mess up. Don't ever get pregnant out of wedlock. Don't ever do this. Even when you are young, probably, if you have brothers, your brothers will given more opportunity to make mistake, to even have the freedom to go out at night and all that. But for women, you can't do this, you can't do that. So for us being a woman, we constantly questioning ourselves: should I do this? Should I not do this? Would it be something wrong for me to do it? You keep on holding yourself back because you're scared. If you let yourself go out just like that, you'll make a mistake that you will regret. But should that be a reality for every kind of decision making for women?
Well, there should not be that reality, but then again, the fact is people are biased when it comes to women, in the sense that as much as we want to break it, they still are biased towards women and think that they are less capable of making decisions, of making something happen. But of course, a lot of women have come up from that, has risen above and proven these people wrong. And we do have a lot of successful female entrepreneurs, not only in Malaysia, even all over the world. So the good thing is that reality is actually changing, and the course of gender equality is actually getting closer.
Do you, personally, do you think you are scared of making mistake because of probably your family background?
I don't think so. I think it depends on each person, like you mentioned. Maybe it's the way they brought up. Maybe it's the people around them that constantly discourage them, and things like that can influence their decision-making skills as well.
Like being a Korean woman, do you feel that you need to withhold yourself whenever you make decision because you are scared you might embarrass yourself or make a mistake, or your mother or father might not be happy about it.
Actually, to be honest, that affects my thinking when it comes to start something, because of my background. Korea is actually very based on the conservatism that a female has to be this way, male has to be this way. Although there are changes coming along the
It's
way
quite slow,
nowadays,
right?
yeah. But then we see a lot of women entrepreneurs in Korea, but yet it is true. I can't just totally ignore the research which says that the woman has a higher fear of a failure, which I totally agree, because we tend to think a bit more than the men thinks, and then that there comes with a lot of fear and the concerns and the worrisome, and we tend to take a few more steps backwards to make sure that everything goes perfectly.
I want to ask you guys, do you ever encounter guys actually telling you, you think too much? Do you
Yes,
ever
of
face?
course.
Yes, of course.
So that's sort of comes with our worry and a concern over just before we start something. So I think in that sense, I think the researchers, what they've done is correct. But then it comes a matter of how we actually overcome all those hurdles, the thinking.
But if you ask evolutionary biologists, they would have an explanation why women think too much. I mean, for women, we are actually pretty risky. I mean, we can easily get pregnant. We can easily, get ourselves hurt biologically. So, and we are also biologically less strong than men. So, for us, to make a wrong decision, it will have a bigger risk than men making the wrong decision. I guess that explains maybe why some women or women in general might think too much, if I want to quote unquote, compared to men. But would it hamper women in business or not? I think the society or the world is changing in a way that we might not be as much being exposed to as much risk as our ancestor would face. We might not need to worry that much compared to what our ancestor, our mother and our grandmother faced at that time.
And definitely the business world is evolving and it is changing slowly. And then we can talk about a lot of things when it comes to women entrepreneurship, because in terms of job opportunities, the payment, and also the nation-wise, whether the nation is affected by religion or even the society structure. And also we can talk about the Malaysian base and also and further perhaps the ASEAN perspectives as well.
Yeah. So we will take a short break. When we return, we will have another discussion. The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas, critical opinions in Southeast Asia. Hey, this is Arlene.
Hello, this is Gowri.
Hi, this is Grace.
And of course, we are talking about women entrepreneurs. So
In Malaysia now.
In Malaysia. Now in
Moving on to
Malaysia.
Malaysia.
So let's talk about Malaysian entrepreneurs.
But before that, I want to address this something that we have actually reported before about the job opportunities to female in Malaysia. It's way lesser than male. And then Malaysia wanted to take the example of Japan. You know how women needs to focus more on the family and family-oriented mindset, because they believe. I forgot the organization, but then they believe that Japan only become a developed nation because of women and how they were focused in the family and then be very domesticated, and then also to carry out and then to take care of the family and then stuff like that. So yes, Gowri, who is your favorite? Or
I actually have too many. I don't know where to start.
okay, where are they from? Fashion or see? I'm stereotyping again.
Not Victoria Beckham, right?
No more Victoria Beckham, because we are talking about Malaysia now.
No more wax,
so,
right? Just kidding.
Unless I'm a wag, which I will be, like 5 or 10 years from now.
All right.
Actually, fashion is one of them. I probably mentioned to you guys before about Norita Harith. She has her own shop in Bangsar.
I see.
And I've been following her work for a long time. And she actually came from a quite a humble background, but she worked her way up, and she was one of the first few to actually venture into fashion by herself, and she started out her own shop, and she's got her own collection there, and her achievements are pretty impressive. And
That's very
she would
interesting.
she's one of the early ones that I was looking up to.
And how about Arlene?
Malaysian entrepreneurs. Well, the funny thing is, I don't really have one, but I do feel that a lot of the women in Malaysia, they are lack of opportunity to move up the career ladder, and also to move up the salary scale up. I mean, I give example of how there's a research by the Malaysian Human Development Report saying that the wage gap between men and women in Malaysia is very, very high. Especially the higher you climb up, the less you get paid compared to men, which is really sad. So when it comes to women in entrepreneurship, I in fact admire more women outside of Malaysia. My favorite is most probably Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook. What I really like about her is she's a woman. She's a mother. She married a really nice nerdy guy. Just kidding about that. I mean, my point is, she's someone that I really aspire to be, because I think that she has this ability to, even though she's a woman, she has this ability to really bring some changes to society. Especially Facebook didn't make money when Mark Zuckerberg was heading Facebook, but when she started to become the COO, she then Facebook started to make profits. So it shows that just because you are a woman doesn't mean that you have no clue about business. In fact, it's the other way around. It's how you are capable of doing things. I feel that Malaysian woman needs that kind of spotlight to be able to move forward in the career ladder as well as the salary ladder.
And also to talk about the Malaysian female entrepreneurs, one of them should be highlighted from internet or IT industry is Flona Tan. She is the president and also CEO of the e1net.com, and it is also Asia's leading internet marketing company with offices in Malaysia. So it's based in Malaysia, but it's also got the branches in Hong Kong and China. So the clients include the Fortune 500 corporations and also local SMEs. So what she did is she's one of the most renowned internet marketing speakers in Asia, and with audiences from across the continent. So this is something that should be highlighted in Malaysia. I'm sure people from the internet or IT industry will know of her and also heard of her, but yet the awareness and also being highlighted to in the entrepreneurship industry in Malaysia, it's not so much yet. And then what she did is also she has a lot of awards from many competitions, and also she has her own nicknames such as Internet Marketing Queen and the Malaysia Superwoman, Internet Musician. So it's like amazing that how she carries her nicknames and to be known for something by media and also in her own industry.
You know, since you brought that up, there's another person that I want to talk about, and her name is Go Ai Ching. And not only she's from Penang, we were actually in the same high school.
Oh my god.
She was my senior back in high school.
Wow.
And she has gone such a long way now that she even won an award for this Silicon Valley Comes to Malaysia event. And of course, I take pride in that. The fact that she's from Penang and we're from the same school.
For sure.
So what she did was she came up with this web application called PictoChart. So for people who are not so skilled in terms of graphic design or in terms of making a presentation, you can actually go to PictoChart and pick out their custom-made designs, put them together, and come up with your own design. And some of the users who are using her application are actually students from Harvard, Cornell, and we have two Ivy League universities there, and also other multinational corporations like Red Bull, Marriott, and also General Electric. So she is someone who came from a small town and she made it big through her
So are you
efforts.
saying that you're also from a small town?
Yes, I am from a small town.
But I have a question here. We can actually just Google the well-known female entrepreneurs in Malaysia and also in the world. But then my question here is, as many as there are quite successful female entrepreneurs throughout the world, still male entrepreneurs get better media coverage and visibility. And then I'm trying to think the reasons behind it. Why is it that male entrepreneurs are more highlighted than females in terms of not only media, but then people can relate themselves better when it comes to male businessmen than females?
Actually, I would disagree with that because when we think of male entrepreneurs or female entrepreneurs, for example, we have Heidi Klum, we have Tyra Banks, we have Oprah Winfrey, and
but they're all from the more or less the same industry. When we think of the, let's say, from like industry like a technology industry, perhaps from the business world, where
actually you make a lot of sense in that, because if you're looking at the heavyweight industry, industry that involve commodities, involve manufacturing, those kind of really businesses that really make the GDP of the nation. They are not that many, and most of them are male dominated. I mean, you don't have to go as far, even though you just go to any forums, any conferences where the topic is not about fashion or music or or entertainment. You would seldom see women within, either as the speakers of the discussion or even as part of the audience. Like, most of them would shy away from those kind of male oriented teams, topics, or even business sectors, which is quite sad.
And also, it's like when you think of business, you tend to think of male. It's like when it comes to engineering, you also tend to think more on the males than females. So it's a sort of the same chapter how we have been, people have been thinking about when it comes to female entrepreneurs. Of course, like Gowri, you mentioned, there are lots of them from certain industries. But I'm talking about the whole picture where the more percentage are heavily on certain industries rather than IT or, like Arlene mentioned, heavy-weighted industry.
So anyway, we'll take another short break. When we return, we will discuss more about another area related to women entrepreneurship.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas, critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
We are back again. This is Arlene.
Hi, this is Gowri.
Hello, this is Grace.
And so we discussed about women entrepreneurs in Malaysia and also outside of Malaysia. What are
in fact,
our next one?
We can go a bit further than Malaysia, which is ASEAN, because since Durian ASEAN deals with a lot of ASEAN matters and issues. So in fact, the ASEAN leaders are keen to raise the profile of the ASEAN young entrepreneurs and also SMEs, and that includes women as well. So to encourage economic and social change, as well as development of micro, small, medium-sized enterprises, following a meeting with the ASEAN Business Advisory Council. It was just the few months back that it was held. And then it was to, like I mentioned, to encourage and to create more platforms for younger generations to start their own businesses and to be able to contribute to economy in the nation, not only Malaysia but also ASEAN context.
Actually, I do have someone that I really admire in the ASEAN context when it comes to I wouldn't say she's an entrepreneur now, but she used to be an entrepreneur. She's now the Minister of Fisheries Affairs, Maritime and Fisheries Affairs for Indonesia. She was handpicked by Joko Widodo to be part of the cabinet.
Oh, yes.
Her name is Susi Pujiasti. Susi Pujiasti. And I mean, if you read through her biography, you will fall in love with her literally. She never graduated university nor high school. After when she was 15 years old, because she was born really poor, she have to work for her family. So she worked in the fishing industry, like very sort of simple, sort of very manual hard work jobs.
I see.
And from there she worked her way up. and she started her business in the fishing industry, and she was so successful at it that Joko Widodo picked her to head the Marine and Fisheries Affairs as a minister. And mind you, for Joko Widodo's term as president of Indonesia, maritime will be one of the key economic sector for Indonesia to move forward, to increase its GDP to 7%, as what Joko Widodo promised to Indonesians.
And in fact, we just reported about how Indonesia wants to strengthen their maritime forces there. So to be appointed for somebody to take care of that area is very crucial and also important.
Yeah.
She has to really know what's in and out and what
Yeah.
are the problem and the issues.
You know, another area that I really admire, Susi Pujiastuti. Sorry, I cannot mention. I cannot
You can
pronounce
just say
her name.
Susie, it's fine.
Yeah. You see, she was so successful at her business. She even have her own aviation.
Aviation and the dot.
As in, we have AirAsia in Malaysia.
Yeah.
She have her own version of AirAsia, but
In
it's
Indonesia.
in Indonesia, but it's a private sort of aviation regional airline company. It's called Susi Air.
Susie Air.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
It's really cute, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people actually use her services because it's very trusted, it's very efficient, and they have, in fact, 32 aircraft of various type. I mean, this is how successful she is. She's not like someone who come from a rich background, but she worked her way up, and I think women can be that. Women can be Oprah Winfrey, they can be Susie if they aspire to be like her.
And let's move on to ASEAN itself in
Alright.
terms of opportunities, because Grace was talking about earlier as to what are the solutions to some of the problems that we raised earlier in the first half, and how can women also overcome this hurdle that's been set in front of them. And of course, one of the first thing is how are they going to take advantage of the AEC itself, the 2015, and that will definitely open up a wider audience or more consumers for whatever startups or entrepreneurship efforts that's coming up, and also to I think, like we mentioned earlier in the news as well, that the trade it will become easier in between countries.
I think knowledge is very important. In a lot of the news that we discuss about ASEAN has put in place a lot of different measures besides reduced tariff and then having a free duty-free zones. But we also have to acknowledge the ASEAN have created making business easy between ASEAN countries by implementing the common visa for ASEAN, and I think in the longer run, a woman should be successful even without AEC. I think women can be successful. If you read through all the successful women in the world, they come from nowhere, but they try to break the stereotypes, because I think a lot of the challenges are not external but internal as well. Of course, externally you need funds, you need opportunities, you need access, but internally you shouldn't question yourself too much. You should just do it. If you fail, just rise up again and do it again until you achieve success.
And in that, I can agree with that context, because for women business owners, having a female relative or female workers in the business actually can boost up the whole environmental and the likelihood to go into the industry, because of the qualities that we carry, the female carries. So if it is just I'm sorry, but the full of males in the business, it will actually create more chaos and a conflict.
Really?
However, yeah, because of they could be very straightforward and very simple-minded, so they can just very gold achievement kind of oriented mindset.
I beg to disagree. I mean, the reason is, okay, everyone knows Apple, right? Do you know that until now Apple does not have a woman
Actually, yes,
board member?
I thought about that too.
Yeah, and they at one time they are the most valuable company in the world, meaning that if you buy shares in Apple, probably like decades ago, you probably be rich now by not doing anything, because they are so valuable globally. So I'm not sure about having more women is good or having less women is good. I think in reality is women need to break their own stereotypes, and I think for us women, we are so socially construct to be a certain kind of woman that we fail to see. We should be ourselves. We shouldn't follow what other people
mean that
think.
like by just having the company with only male workers will actually lessen the opportunities for women who actually want to work and then who have been striving their careers into the industry?
I feel that we should have co-ed. We should have both men and women.
I mean, for sure, that's what the world is about.
That's why I'm against like convents or Methodists. To me, if you segregate the sexes, it's not fun anymore.
But when it comes to again,
Okay.
when it comes to ASEAN context again, religion, we cannot ignore the religion, and the religion actually affects a lot of areas, and also business is not ignored there. What is your perspectives when it comes to religion and the business?
I think
in ASEAN
religion
context?
definitely having any religion at all, it does play a part because when that becomes your way of life, you tend to make all your decisions revolving around that. But in terms of ASEAN itself, there are definitely a lot of opportunities opening up, and also in terms of culture, the culture that we're brought up in. Sometimes we have the racial stereotypes as well, as opposed to gender, because well, we all know that if you're in an Indian family, the first thing they will tell you is to be a doctor and it's not to be an entrepreneur, and that will be
And also lawyers.
a different story if you're in a Chinese family,
Yeah.
and that is something that's very distinct and something that you actually see happening around you, where like a lot of my Chinese friends would say, oh, I need to take over my family business, or I need to help my dad, or my dad wants me to get into
But is
business.
it a woman
and-
problem, or is it like a culturally?
I think it's more of a culture.
Yeah, I'm
It's a
moving
cultural
more into
problem.
like a racial stereotype for this, and so that's that factor that plays a part as well. So when it comes to these racial stereotypes, it doesn't matter if you're a man or women anymore. It's about how you were brought up and what are your parents' mindset that
Well,
also
that's
comes
true.
into play.
Yeah, and also something that I've noticed is when it comes to culture and the religious part, right? Women who are heavily from the religious background, okay, especially in Malaysia, when we talk about the Malaysia or Indonesia, when it comes to hand gesture or when it comes to first impression to in business world, they tend to be more reserved than men. Okay, I'm talking about the like Malay community. Female entrepreneurs, Malay female entrepreneurs, they tend to be a bit more reserved when it comes to gesture. When they say hi, nice to meet you, so we take out our hands for handshake, but then they don't want to do that because it sort of goes against what they believe in. So for those who actually don't know about that context, they will feel actually offended in the business world, and that they actually give them a wonder.
Great that you mentioned that, because if I'm not mistaken, I did one of my class in university studying about different business ethics based on cultural values of the country. I think different countries have different idea about how society should interact with each other, and it's important as businesswoman or businessman to be very sensitive, very aware of the cultural attitudes of society. I mean, let's say you are doing business. I just give example within Southeast Asia. Let's say
nasi
you
lemak,
are,
right?
let's say you are Malaysian selling nasi lemak. You want to do business. Give example Myanmar.
Okay.
Because they like belacan, right? So and they like anchovies too.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe nasi lemak business will boom there. But Myanmar society is actually more conservative than Malaysian society. So for women to be in business and do business in Myanmar, they need to be even more aware of how a woman's presence amongst men ought to be. So I think even as women, you need to be culturally sensitive to the society where you're doing business. It's basic common sense in a way.
And also to move forward when it comes to women entrepreneurship in ASEAN context, I think Arlene, you just shortly mentioned about the educating people. I think it's very important. They need to have some form of institution for women to be informed and to be updated what's going on in business world, so they can actually have a better understanding when it comes to starting their own business and startups, and also to step into the real business world.
Yeah, we have Durian to do that.
Yeah, we have just too many girls.
And it's also about like Arlene was also mentioning earlier, it's about breaking away from the stereotypes, breaking away from all the rules that people have set for you, and you push yourself beyond that and set new boundaries, set new rules, and change the perception about that.
I mean, I give example of my family. I mean, I have a very weird family.
No nasi lemak, right?
In a way that my dad doesn't really believe in stereotypes, so he treats me as one of the boys because I have another two brothers. So sometimes I try to play that woman card.
Does it work?
It doesn't work at all. Like being a woman, usually being a woman, you have a bit more privilege in the family, where usually the father or the brother will treat you as if like you are the more vulnerable gender in the family. So I try to play that card. I try to portray that, hey, I'm just a woman. I'm sensitive. I'm emotional. I can't carry this because I'm woman. I'm helpless. And my dad say, just do it.
That is a
Shut up,
very
just do it.
That's a very good advice from your dad.
Actually, yes.
One of my favorite entrepreneur who is not a woman is Richard Branson, who started the Virgin Airways, and he's always like that. He's like the yes man. He always says that whenever there's a new business opportunity, whether he can do it or not, he always says yes first, and then he goes and learn how to do it later.
Yeah. I mean that's what my family has been teaching me all the way, which I really appreciate it. Maybe not the way Richard Branson would do it. I think I really admire him for that.
Yeah.
I guess in a way, my dad taught me that just because you're a woman, you don't have to show or act like a woman. I mean, as in like you don't have to play that woman card. You don't give excuses. You just do it. Yeah, I really appreciate that advice, and because of that, the way I see society and the way I see myself, I don't see myself as woman first. I see myself as a person that aspire greater things first, and want to help to solve the problems of the world or problems of individuals. And
So you see
that-
like
that's
a
coming
genderless society.
Genderless.
I think we should appreciate our femininity as a woman, or whatever biological makeup we are, internally and externally, but we don't have to overplay that woman card, and I think it's wrong for us to do that.
I will say it's a very inspiring speech from Arlene.
Okay, I can be the next Obama then.
Yeah, well, you can strive for that. But on the other hand, as much as we don't want to take all those feminine side and then like to carry out and then to want to be taken care of, but there are also community that who actually take advantage of being females. Let's say I'm female, I'm a weaker sex, so I don't want to do that, and the guys, you just go ahead and do it because I'm female. That sort of creates another mindset among the society. And then when it also comes to business, just because we are female, guys have to do all this heavy work, we can just do all the soft work. It just, I would say it's very not appropriate when it comes to, because work is professional.
But you can always come up with the idea and then get the guy to lift the heavy stuff anyway.
When it comes to physical stuff, yes, of course.
Oh, don't ever ask my dad to do it. Be like, you do it yourself. Yeah, carry that huge cupboard yourself.
Yes, for sure. So what I want to highlight here is to further enhance all those opportunities for females, and the government and regional bodies such as APEC can also work to build more the capacity of the business association or institution, the networks, to reach out to women-owned firms to help out.
Actually, you mentioned a really important part, network. I think that has been lacking in the woman sphere. I notice a lot of men are able to be successful and remain successful. It's not because they are more intelligent than women or they are more capable than women, but they have better networks. I mean, face it, without networks, you cannot move ahead in life. No matter how stupid or how smart you are, it's all about your networks, who you know and how you can tap into the resources that you have. And for men, have you heard of the boys club, the old boys club? So men, traditionally, they always have society or clubs or networks where they tap into their own networks to move ahead in life. But women, we don't have the old women's club or old girls club. So that's why we are segregated in a way that we think we are the only one doing this. But in reality, perhaps there are a lot of people who are like us, who aspire greater things, who wouldn't have the certain resources, but we might have them, and we miss the opportunity to tap into each other's advantages.
But why is the women tend to have a lesser network than male? Is it because of our soft skills or the communication skills?
It's culturally. It's because of the remnants of the patriarchal system that we have in the past. I mean, I give example of certain boys' school where they actually have alumni that lasted for years and years, and some of them even become prime minister or someone important in business. And these alumni groups are really important because they are the old boys club. They mingle with each other, they know each other well, they tap into each other's resources, and women do not necessarily have that, and that's the problem.
So, does it mean that we need to create our own community or even like smaller scale of a club to be able to develop skills together, to discuss the matters and then to communicate each other?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even Sheryl Sandberg, she wrote a book called Lean In. One of her initiative is to create forums or spaces where women can mingle with each other, making long-term friendship and tap into each other's resources. And I think that's important because you cannot be successful alone. You have to have a team, a network to help you move ahead.
And there's also a quote that says it's not about what you know, but who you know. And I think that perfectly sums up what you've been trying to explain. And it's always about that team that you have when you have people who are similar, who are like-minded as you are, who is as positive as you are. Because if you want to be an entrepreneur, but all your friends are probably stuck in 9-to-5 jobs, you wouldn't have that same courage, that same motivation to go about with your business. But if you join an entrepreneur club, you get to know more people. Everyone is just as driven as you are, as motivated as you are, and they know other people as well. So with that as well, you increase your increase your networking, increase your resources, and also it encourages you to go for it and to become that person that you want to be.
And also, when it comes to female and male, there should be a lesser sex discrimination, and also provide
What kind of
more
discrimination you mean?
like in terms of job opportunities, and then like like women, when we reach certain age, we will be pregnant after marriage, and then sort of that segregates the mindset from the company, and then that should be lessened because some company actually gives chances to pregnant ladies. Pregnant ladies, they are not sick, they're
Don't
just
worry,
pregnant.
wait until I'll be in the office in the government to change that law. Like, no matter how pregnant you are,
No matter how many times.
You should have the option. Okay, that's another wishful thinking, but yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
But I talking about men and women, actually, and networking. The reality is, in today's society, if you want to widen your network, you have to have male as your counterparts. But the problem is, at least this is what I face, men often perceive, especially if you are a good-looking woman, often perceive that you are flirting with them. And if you network with them, they will assume that you want, they want to get something out of you. And I think that's also a huge challenge for myself, even because I feel that I always need to try to go back and forth to control myself so that they won't assume things about myself.
Oh la la, so Arlene is a good-looking girl here. but that's something that we can't ignore at the same time when it comes to business world, because men are just being men in the business world, and when it comes to female,
not all men are like that.
when it comes to female business, they rather than they look at that female as a somebody who has been doing business, they look at the sex sort of like stereotype, like she's a
she
female.
flirting with me or not?
Yeah.
Did you ever face that, Gowri?
Yes, I have, but then again,
How do you
I
brush
don't
it
think
aside?
that there's just keep things professional and make it clear that you're in it just for the business, and this is a professional relationship, and we're working together, and I think that's how you overcome it.
Yeah, we have to overcome it. They shouldn't definitely stop us to, for us to going forward. So women entrepreneurs, we have to just keep looking at this area, because after all, we are all women, and then we are also striving for our careers in this industry.
So I guess before we wrap things out, I guess some final comments about how can we be successful ASEAN women entrepreneurs.
For me, it's going back to Richard Branson. It's the yes attitude, that you grab whatever opportunity that comes to you. Don't overthink it, overanalyze it, because when you dwell too much on it, you tend not to take any action.
Don't think too much.
Because taking the action is always the first step to achieving something. So I would say grabbing and making the most out of whatever opportunity that you have.
To me, it's get rid of your fear when it comes to any opportunities that you are facing. Like Gowri mentioned, don't think too much, because opportunities are just there, and you just need to grab one of them and to make it work. So don't be afraid. Just step forward, and then if you can, take as many as you can, because you never know unless you try them.
For me, I just want to quote Yoda. Do or do not, there's no try. So just do
Thank you,
it.
Yoda.
Just do it and make more friends, especially in the among women and among men as well. That's all from us today. Thank you for listening to our rambling about women's entrepreneurship.
And also don't forget to follow us on all our social media channels like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube.
And expect something unexpected tomorrow, because tomorrow is Anything Can Happen Friday. Yay!